This conference will now be recorded.
How we are going to connect to the database and how we can how we are going to handle other tools as part of DBA. Okay, those have completed, and today's session we are going to discuss about user management. User management is nothing but you have a database. Okay, how we are going to connect your database. Okay, what is the purpose of your database? So the database is main purpose is to store the data and retrieve the data, right? So if you want to store the data, you require certain kind of uh, tools or certain kind of way to store it. Or if you want to access the data, you need some path, right? So everything is related to that user management. Okay, somebody needs to put your data into the database and somebody needs you to retrieve the data. Who is that? Like some that somebody means that users itself. So there are different kinds of users we are having, like database users we are having as a admins. We call it as a database admins, one type of users. Another one is developers or application users. Okay, developers or application users. And other thing is OS users, operating system users. So different users we are having. First of all, what is mean by this user? User is nothing but it could be it could be a person or it could be a account. We call it as a user is not, it should not be a person. Okay, basically user is not, it should not be a person, it could be some account. Like I have my Gmail account, I have my some other account, I have my Oracle account, I have my this one Windows login account. So what is the main purpose of this account? To access the system and to do the some normal activities. Similar way in database also we are having DBA users, development and other application users, and OS level users. Okay, user is nothing but it should be an application access, one account. I can say one account. User is an account. It should not. It should sometimes we call it as a person also, but it should not be a person simply. And what is mean by the schema? Schema is it what schema will do, right? Whatever the account we created, user is simply it's an account. Okay, and schema it contains or it represents this user account. How it will represent this user account means once we created this user account means simply the user will exist in the database. He cannot perform any kind of operations, like he cannot read or he cannot put the data into in the database, like write command, right? Select, or he cannot write, right? For write operation, or insert, right means insert in database, insert or delete, any kind of operations he cannot, this user account cannot perform. It required certain kind of privileges and all, right? And it required some of in those privileges and other options, we call it as an objects. Okay, some table level tables, synonym, sequence, so many objects will be there. Okay, this schema will represent all these privileges. Whatever the privileges is having this user account, we call it as a schema. Okay, user and schema is two different terminologies, but internally or logically both will do same kind of actions. I mean same kind of actions itself. So without schema there is no use of user. Without user we cannot define the privileges to whom we are going to assign the related privileges. Okay, we will discuss that what is privilege. Okay, we have different types of users in our database. First, let me show you the database uses an architecture kind of one. In this diagram, we are having, this is one of the database, right? We are having system table space, sysocks, and users data related one, temp and undo. Whatever the data you want to access, you need one account. Okay, that is user account. But once you created that user account, you cannot access this user required access privilege to this database. Okay, that access related privileges, modification related privileges, all privileges, we call it as completely it's a schema. Okay, suppose it's a sys1 or else it's a demo user. This one is demo user. Demo user Once you created, that's normal account. After that, you need to provide some system and object level privileges. Then only this user becomes schema. Once it become a schema, this schema can able to access this database. Whatever the schema is performed as per his or this user account privileges, those will insert or update or select or read, write, something like that. Okay, that user or schema can valid one. Others cannot access this one. Each and every database is required a users, valid users. Those need to be created by database administrator, and DBS also need to be uh, having the admin privileges. So user is nothing but an account, and schema is it represents the user account. Schema is uh, nothing but user account plus objects. Whatever the objects are roles which we provided to that user account, and different types of users in the database. In the database, okay, whatever I shown in this database, we are having in 19C database we are having two kind of users. One is common user, another one is local user. I'll tell you what is the common user and what is the local user. Common user is whatever the user we created under the CDB. Let me show you that common users and local user differences. So I'm connecting to this Oracle database. Oracle is not the right one. Let me take a new session. Session is nothing but to open another putty. Okay, each and every putty terminal. Terminal also we call it as, or session also we'll call. Oracle user ID and password. Let me show you the difference between the common user and the local user. Show PDBs. See here, whatever the user we are going to create here, this is not the PDB session. Okay, we are yet to connect to this PDB. We as of now we connected to the CDB one. How we can see that? Select start from. Let me take the v dollar containers. Describe v dollar containers. So I want to see some of the columns, not all the columns I want to read. I want to read only specific columns. Okay, container ID or container name, then container ID I want to see, and the status, whether it is read write mode or read only mode. I want to see open mode. From, see, these are all the columns which I want to select. Select space name one column. I want to see the name column. I want to see the container ID column, comma. I want to see whether it is open or read only. Okay, these are all the columns I want to read. From where I want to read? From this view. V dollar containers is the view. It will show you the. This is the CDB one. As in previous class, somebody has asked. This is the CDB one. Okay, I was there in the CDB container. Okay, this represents the CDB. If I want to connect to the PDB, I can connect it. This is a network issue. Okay, that is fine. Let me set proper way. Set lines 100 not required. Call. This name is having lot of space. No, unnecessary one. I want to make a format of. I need 3, 8, 8, 10. I can make 8, 10. 10 characters is fine. See here, only 10 characters. CDB root is the container one. This is a container ID of 1. I was connected to this CDB. Whatever the user, if I want to create it here, this users we call it as a common users. Common means in the same architecture here, I have how many PDBs? PDB seed we should not calculate it one. We are not using this for life. Okay, we are using to create another PDB. We will use this PDB. So how many PDBs we have? Only one PDB. If you want to create one more PDB, that PDB required this seed information. Okay, seed is the base information. Leave it. Whatever the users you are going to create, those users want to access these PDBs. we have to create those users into container one. And some of the environments, they won't allow specific application or specific database users to remaining databases. In my case, I have one PDB and one CDB. Another case, one CDB and three PDBs. Let me write it. This is CDB1, C1. This is CDB2 and this is PDB1. Related to this CDB, I have PDB1, PDB2, PDB3. Three PDBs I have. If I have created one user, rack demo, this user can connect to this CDB, and also we can able to provide the permission to access this user to this PDB. Okay, if this PDB require this user, we can grant it. Okay, this kind of users. Same way, if you created rack demo 2, RAC demo 2 user, I have created. This user required only P2B, PDB2 database. This is not required for PDB1 or PDB2. What I need to do, I have to create the user here and I need to grant specific access. In that case, no, I have to create only this user on this PDB. Why? Because in container, whatever the local you are creating, those users can able to access all these three PDBs. Okay, that's where to avoid multiple times creation of the users, the same user is required for all three PDBs. We can use it when you have created in the CDB, this CDB. If you want a specific instance restrictions, only this user is required to access only PDB2. You have to create this user in PDB2 only, not on the CDB. Okay. So whatever the users you are going to create commonly, use all the PDBs. Such kind of users we can call it as a common users. And whatever the users we are going to create individual PDBs, individual users like demo 3, it's the individual user for this PDB, and demo 4, it's a individual to this one. This user cannot access this PDB or this PDB. This user can access only this PDB. These kind of users we call it as a local users. Okay. This common users, as and when you are going to create, you have to use the prefix C hash hash. That is Oracle standard one. It defines the prefix of that user. It means commonly we are going to create this user. Username you can mention. Username. C hash hash username. I'll show you the demo also how we are going to create a common user and how we are going to create a local user. And one more user we are having, remote login users. This local users, whatever the users we are going to create on this PDB, right? If they require an admin privileges, sysdba, sysasm, sysopa, those kind of admin privileges, those users we required the password file. I'll show you where the password file will be there. Okay, that whatever the users, admin users, okay, if these user demo 3 user required admin access to perform some admin activities like creating table spaces, creating some profiles, removing or drop the some of the users, so such kind of activities performed by the admin user. If this user required admin access and also it required to access remotely means from SQL developer or other tools. Okay, those users we require the password file. That is one kind of access. So one is common user is cleared, and the local user individual PDBs where we are going to create the users, that is the local users. The local user is required the admin privilege. Such kind of users require the password file, the sys password in the Oracle Home DBS location. Then only the remote user can able to connect to the database server or PDB servers, individual PDB servers. They can perform the admin tasks. Okay, these are all the three types of users which we are having in the database. Okay, and you have created the user, and what required that user required the privileges. Privileges means the permissions to access the database, what kind of permissions is required. If he is a DBA user, okay, if he is a DBA user, he required admin privileges. Admin privilege means admin permissions. If it is a developer, okay, dev user, it means dev or application user, he need a read only access. We should not provide the read write access for other users apart from the DBA users. Okay, read only user. So such kind of privileges we need to provide to that user account. Whatever the user we are going to create, we have to provide the certain kind of privilege is nothing but the permission. Okay, in privileges we are having two types of options, like system privilege, system permissions, and object privileges. Object privileges, what is mean by that? I'll show you that in the diagram. Okay, we are having two kinds of privileges, system privilege and object privilege. System privilege is nothing but to provide certain kind of access in the system objects, like that user, if you want to provide the privilege, creates table space privilege. That privilege, that user can able to create a table spaces in the system. Create session, it means to connect to the database, it requires the create session privilege. There are a couple of system privileges, I'll show you those also. Here two examples I'm going to provide. If that user wants to create something, create, or he want to do some revoke kind of operations and all, he required system privileges. What is object privilege? Object means, I mean earlier also I have told, objects are tables, synonym, functions. To those are all objects. Okay, in the database, object means table, sequence, synonym, object, index, views, and so many things is there. But these are all the some of the names for objects. See here, we have objects such as table, view, sequence, procedure, functions, package, and so on. To access that user in a specific table space, whatever the table space the user has been created, one user has been created, right? If that table space we created, that user needs to access, he need a object privilege. But the user want to create a table space, he required a system privilege. That's it, nothing much. Okay, those are two types of privileges. And what is mean by the role? Role is like, if one user has been joined in our organization, okay, let me give you an example. Role, I am going to explain the role. Okay, role, like as a DBA, if you joined, right, you have certain kind of roles. You want to do some operations like patching, cloning, database monitoring, day-to-day activities of DBA, like performing the user creation, table space creation. These are all your, as a DBA, that guy role, DBA roles. Same way in the database, after you create a user, okay, user account you have created, user account created. If the user account is creation completed, okay, he cannot access the database. He cannot. He requires certain kind of privileges, whether it is a system privilege or object, anything. We have given a system privilege, create session privilege. Okay, then he can able to connect once the privilege, system privilege, it's a mandatory. Okay, system privilege create session is mandatory. We have given the user rack demo user user, we have given a privilege of create session privilege. Until unless you have not given this privilege, the user cannot connect to this database. Once you given the system privilege create session, he can able to connect it, but he cannot perform, he or she cannot perform anything on this database. Why? Because we have given just create session privilege. Then that user we need to give object privileges. Okay, object privileges, select, insert, update, delete, etc. These kind of object privileges we need to give to this user. Okay, so I have given select privilege, so user can able to connect this, and according to this select privilege I have given to access all the table spaces which are there in this database to this user account. This is one privilege I have given, right? She can able to access the tables as a read only. They cannot create anything, they can just read it. Select command only they can do, select star from so and so table, they can read it. Okay, in this way, if we have 1,000 users joined as a developer in your organization, day to day, n number of people will join as a developers. So every day you want to create each and every user n number of times, and also you have to provide n number of times the system privileges. This create session privilege you need to give, and select privilege you need to give, or if they required extra object or system privileges, we need to give one on one. Each user, 1,000 users, okay, each user required. In this case, if you want to give individually 5 minutes, suppose, how many minutes it will take to give all the privileges and all 1,000 users? We need to execute these scripts, right? 1,000 times this one, 1,000 times this one, if you have multiple privileges. So it is huge time, hours and hours, right? Days, it will take days to grant in this way. For to avoid this multiple times providing the roles, privileges, we have introduced the role option. Role is the collection of privileges to grant to that user. So we need to create one role. Okay, role means it's having collection of our group of privileges. Role is group of permissions. So I created one DBA underscore role, developer underscore role, dev underscore role, manager underscore role, manager underscore role. Okay, these are the roles I have created. What I will do, as and when I have created a role, I will assign all these, what are all the permissions or privileges required as a DBA. I'll give it all the privileges to this DBA role, this role. And some developers will join, right? I have created one role as a dev underscore role. I'll give development user related privileges to this role, and manager related roles I'll give privileges I'll give to this role, manager role. Now, I one day 100 developers join to organization. I have to give the privileges. I have to create these accounts first, and then I need to give the privileges. So at that time, I just create the account and assign to this development role to this user. 100 queries I'll complete within 20 or 30 minutes. Earlier days, we need to take couple of hours or days to provide all these roles and all without role. So role is having group of privileges. So it is easier. Our life as a DBA, our life should be very easy. As and when if you want to remove certain kind of user, right? Suppose in this case, if you want to remove a user has been left the organization, we need to delete his account in the database. In this case, we need to revoke all the privileges. We don't know some of the privilege or permissions we missed out. But in this case, right, we will revoke that user role. It will 100% accuracy and time saving also. We will remove all the user related access within a short time with 100% accuracy. That is where role is major role it will perform. Okay, that is role. Okay, profiles. What is profile? Okay, in that we have created that user account. User account is ready and role is ready. You have assigned, but we require a certain kind of profile. Profile means it will define the resource level, and resource level means how much memory we need to assign, how much size we need to assign, and object level also. These two, not the object level. I think resource will decide the user is required some storage, right? Whatever the actions he want to perform, he requires certain kind of CPU, like he required a memory, he required storage, he required the permissions to write or perform his actions, create actions. The user wants to write some development code, right? The code needs to be stored in the database. Okay, if that required means we need to provide certain kind of memory and storage to this resource. And also we need to grant the user account related privileges, account related, okay, account related privileges we need to grant. Like Every user which we have created in the organizations, they need certain kind of privileges. The password should not be reused, and the password needs to be changed on every 90 days or 180 days. The password should have the strong one. A minimum 15 characters is required, and the user can reuse his password after how many attempts. Okay, in generally in our normal accounts we can use the same password again and again, but in organizations we should not reuse our password. At least last 5 passwords we should not use. Such kind of informations we will create a profiles and we can assign to that user account. Then that completes a database, I mean complete the user account. Otherwise no, we need to create a user. Creation part is done, and we have assigned the roles. Till this portion, what the user can do, user can able to connect to the database, and he can have the permission. If the user doesn't have a storage where that user's information will store, so that required the profile. Without this profile, this user cannot useful. And also this profile will help us, okay, to segregate the users. Previously I told you as a DBA, right, it's a critical users. This DBA users is required high level or else high profile we can maintain. And developers, this developer is having different kind of profiles we need to maintain. Why? Because no, if you are maintaining this kind of a strict profile, like password should not reuse, your password will expire after 5 attempts, or lock your account after 5 attempts. Such kind of profile if you can provide to this development user, that is not that much of important, right? Production or DBA users is required such kind of securities. If it is a development users or front end some application users, we can give them mean same password they can reuse, and the password should not be expired. Some of the accounts will be there, some account level or application level password, those should not expire. Okay, never expire. Such cases this default profile will not work out. Default profile will not work out. Okay, as and when you create an user, that and also you assign the table space to that user, that user account is having default, okay, default profile. Okay, the same default profile will not work in our real-time environment. We have to create according to that users, and according to that user privileges we need to define the profiles. So profile is having the resource and account uh, information, account level information, like how, I mean how many times the password need to reuse, and how many days it's required to reset your password. Certain kind of things is required. Okay, that is one thing, like profile will make a crucial role. And revoke, how we can drop on users. Okay, as and when the user is has left your organizations. Okay, if the user is not required, we need to drop it immediately. Why? Because that is a secure thing. And role, how we can drop a role. So if one user has been initially joined as a DBA, later on he switched his career to some other application developer or something. Okay, we need to change that user account role from DBA to this one. Okay, how we can assign that roles. Or else the development user has been learned something, and then he required some admin privileges. At that time we need to assign the role to this development user as a admin role. That is one thing. If how we can revoke the privilege. Revoke means remove the privilege. Okay, remove the privilege. By mistakenly one user has been joined, he is a development user, mistakenly some resource has been created and assigned the role as a DBA role. So we need to revoke that role immediately. That is a security violation. In real time it should not happen, but in case it will happen, we require that. Or else the user is not required. If some DBA has been joined, he doesn't have that much of skill set to provide the, some organizations will not provide, even DBAs also they will not give the admin access. Okay, and they will give the minimum normal read only access only. At that case we need to revoke if certain admin privileges mistakenly, or if you want to revoke, I mean degrade the roles and all to specific user account, we can use the revoke. How we can do, I'll show you in the lab session. Okay, user is nothing but an account name or account. It's a simple account. Okay, it's not any specific person or member. It should be an application or it should be an OS level user and all. Schema is the collection of database objects. Those are owned by the user. Whatever the user account is having the objects like system privilege, object privilege, profiles and all, complete those information we call it as a schema. Okay, that concludes our user management. I'll show you the live demo. So
This
whatever,
conference will now be recorded.
whatever we have discussed today, like user management, how we are going to create a users. Let me show you the demo. Okay, first of all, I'm using SQL developer to create the users. Okay, and also we can create the users from the backend as well. Backend means the putty session. Okay, let me take a session. Hope everybody knows how to connect Oracle. I mean database, backend database. We require a host name, username, and password. That's it. You can enter your host name or IP. Then you can enter your user ID and password. This user ID and password is related to the OS user. We call it as OS user. This is not database user. Okay. Once you enter that, or once you connected to the database server, we just connected to the database server. Now I'm prompting whether my database or how many databases running on this server. Okay, this server. This is my server or host name. Running only one database. Vara underscore Esmon, RacksDB is my database name. Okay, I'm concluded that only one DB is running, and also I want to see the listener. Listener means whatever the request which we are connecting. Like suppose I want to connect it from remotely to this database from SQL developer. The listener and should be up and running. That whatever the user ID and password I'm going to enter here, those will connect to the server session. From user session to user process to server session. From server session, that user ID and password will validate it, and also it will check where the instance is ready to listen. Okay, if that instance, if it is ready to listen, means the listener should be up and running. Some service should be run, right, to take the request from the server process. That is the listener. Each listener is having the service name. In my case, my service name is PDB1. If you have multiple PDBs, you have to check all the PDBs, service PDB1, service PDB2 is up and running or not. Then you conclude that it is up and running. Okay, now I confirm that my PDB, my database, okay, is ready to listen all the requests which are coming from remotely or locally. Locally means from this putty session, what I'm going to show you. Remotely means from here, SQL developer. It is ready to take. And then I'm trying to connect SQL plus as a sys DBA. Okay, now I'm going to prompt whether my PDB is, yeah, this one. My PDB is read write. So first I'm going to demo how we are going to create a local user. Okay, local user means in CDB. The same user I can able to access the PDB. Okay, and one more, and next demo I'll show you local user. That user I can able to access only the PDB. Okay, for create the user, we need to use the create one, create user. As I said, if you want to create a local user, you need to use C hash hash. Rats demo. I think I should have some, leave it. Okay, create user username identified by the password. By password should be like one number should be there and characters, special character should be there, and it is required, it is expected from in 19C also, 19C onwards. So one character should be uppercase, one special character, one number is required, and minimum, I don't think so. Eight is minimum required. Some of the users, admin users, are somewhere I saw 15 characters required. From here, this is fine. Okay, wherever I'm going to create a local user, I need to mention that user should represent all the containers. Containers means PDB1, PDB2, if he has n number of PDBs, that should, we have to mention container equal to container equal to all. In future, if you want to go to create one more PDB, right, that also it should include in this user. That user can able to access all the PDBs. Okay, account unlock. It is not required. Okay, as and when it is required, we can do. Otherwise, it is not required. Here we can add what is mean. This user we are going to create, right? This user should access some of the table space. Table space means we have separate lesson. I'll tell you whatever the user is going to perform any kind of actions, it requires some storage, right? So storage means in our case it's a table space. We need to assign one table space to this user. So whatever the data is, this user is going to create those information stored on specific table space. One is default table space, another one is temp table space. Temp is nothing but, see, in your mobile you are going to access in the background some temp files will generated, right? We have to clear, mean we are going to clear everything after some time. Every time we are going to clear the temp, clearing the cache, something like that. In database we required certain kind of temp, that temp will maintain the temporary information whatever we are doing in the front end. In the background it required a temp table space. Without the temp table space we cannot do any kind of actions in the front end, front side. So one user, when you are going to create, it will take one table space, that is default table space. Another one is default temporary table space. Two table space is required. But if I did not mention those information, if I haven't mentioned what is the default table space, what is the temporary table space where this user needs to create, by default this user will store normal default temp table space we are having, default user table space we should have. That table spaces it will use it. I'll show you the default table spaces and all also. Okay, I have created this user. This username is this and the password is this, and container level I have created. Now if I want to connect, I haven't given any privileges to this user. Let me try to connect this user, connect this user slash password, username and password. I'm trying to connect this one. What it is throws an error. This user c hash has drag demo lacks what kind of privilege? Create session privilege. It's a default one. Without this privilege, any user cannot. Even this is a local user, I mean common user. Even if you can create a local user in a PDB, even that is also required a create session privilege. Okay, makes sense. So let me connect it again and then I'll give the create session privilege. How we can create? We can use the grant command, grant create session privilege to this user. Also, we have to mention all the container levels, container equal to all. So grant succeeded. Whatever the grant you have permission you have created, create session system privilege. It's a system privilege, okay? It is not object privilege. It is succeeded. Let me try to connect now. See, it allowed then only. I have connected. Show user. Which user I have connected? C hash racks demo user. The same user can I try to connect the PDB? Now I am in this one. From CDB I have connected CDB. Okay, CDB database. Now I want to connect this user from here. SQL plus. What is the username? This username slash password. What I have given the password? Oracle underscore 123. At the rate, we need to mention which PDB you want to connect. See, PDB1, I want to connect this user. I did not create this user in PDB, but I can able to connect it. That is the power of common user. If you have 100 PDBs, simple this command container equal to all. If you are you are using create user username password, all 100 PDBs you can able to access. And whatever the grants you are going to provide, you can grant create sessions. If you are not mentioning this means this create session privilege will provide only on the CDB only. You are not providing this user to all the containers. We have to mention this container equal to one all is a specific one. Okay, this user we call it as a common user. Now I'm going to, even if you want, you can grant it, grant select comma, insert comma, object level privilege. I'm not giving to that user. Even if you want to provide, you can provide grant select. I'll show you later. SQL plus S is DBA. Show PDBs. Now I'm going to show you the demo how we can going to go to create a local user. Local user means individual PDBs. Alter. If you want to connect individual PDBs, we need to mention alter session set container equal to whatever the PDB you want to connect, give that name and semicolon. That's it. Then show PDBs. It will show you only this PDB. Now I want to create a user in locally. Create user rags demo 2 identified by Oracle underscore 123. So I'm not mentioning any container equal to all and all. Okay, just also I haven't mentioned prefix c hash hash. See here. Create user username identified by the password. If we want to connect this user, can we try without grant? Let me take another session and I'll try to connect it. Okay, if you want to connect the same session with this host, you can use duplicate option. Oracle password. Wrong. Oh, provided the. Okay, I think user is wrong. Let me cancel this. Exit. Okay. Okay, let me. And one more thing. For if you want to connect to the database, you have to set the environment. Okay. If you are not aware where your environmental file is reside, generally in each and every environment, we should have a bash file in the home. Once you connect it to that OS user, right, in the home, OS user home path. Here, if you want to see hidden files means the file will start from the sh, vbx, vmx. See, let me check. If I use ls-ltr, I cannot see the hidden files. Like the file will start with dot, I cannot view it. How we can view ls-ltr? A. We need to mention A. If you mention A means you can able to view all the hidden files on a specific path which you mentioned. Okay, here we are having bash profile, dot bash profile, this one. Here we can mention the path of your Oracle home, where you have installed your Oracle, and where is your Oracle binaries, Oracle home bin location or binaries will be there, and what is your SID means instance name. Okay, it is required, right? If you have installed 10 databases or 10 instances on this server, each instance we need to specify the specific SID, right? So which database you are going to start? Database start means instance only, right? I showed you in the architecture. Database start means, I'll show you here where it is. Complete architecture. Yes. See, it's a complete, we call it as a database, right? If you are going to start your database means you are going to start this memory point, memory plus backgrounds only. You are not going to start these things. This is the database originally, but we are starting instance only. For this instance, SID will represent. SID means this instance name only. Okay, most of the environments we are make it name of the database and this SID same names. If it is a rack, right, real application cluster, one database, multiple instances, 1, 2, 3, multiple instances. I'll show you the diagram also. In this case, one database, multiple instances. At that time, we call it as database name rack demo. Suppose my database name is rack demo. If it is a single database, right, one instance, one database, rack demo is my database name. Rack demo, I can make it as my SID or instance name. But if it is multiple instances, right, I'll mention rack demo 1, rack demo 2, rack demo 3 is my instances. Rack demo is my database name. That is the naming conversion. That's it. If you are going to start your database means you are starting your instance only, not the database. Database is simple. It is a physical file. Physically, it will exist. If your instance is start, then only we can able to access the database. Clear, no? That's it. For clear cut. Let me show you here. So this in the bash profile importance is you have to mention where is your Oracle home and where is your Oracle libraries. Libraries means now I'm creating a user. It requires some libraries, means software related supported files. I'm going to start up command, right, to start up the database. That supporting commands software is the libraries. Home is the startup command related binaries. Also I can say binaries are base information. So I need to mention where is my base and also where is my home and what is my SID name. This library path is my, as I said, right? Libraries, Oracle home related supported binaries or software. These are all the library lib files, all the lib files. These are all soft links kind of one. It will help us to do our normal jobs as a DBA jobs. Okay, that is all these informations we have to mention in the bash file. If you know this bash file, right? Once we have set this information into the bash file, and then we need to execute with the dot bash file. If you execute in this way, we need to execute only one time. Next time if you are connecting, automatically this bash will set. If the instance is not set the bash information, we have another option to use. How you can set your environment. Set your environment is nothing but this one only. Your home need to export, SID need to export, and library path. Library path means where your libraries, Oracle home libraries are there. So simply I'm going to set with .orinv. It's set straightforward standard Oracle binary or the tool where we are going to use orinv. Any location you can use it. Orinv. We have to give our SID. Suppose in this server you have 10 SIDs, 10 databases. Rack database 1, rack data. It will show you all these options. And then you have to select specific one. Now I'm going to select a default one. I'm not changing anything. This is the default one I have selected. Then only you can able to connect this database. Okay. Otherwise, without setting the environment, it will not allow you. In this way, we have to connect to the database. Okay. What I'm trying to show you to connect local user, which I have created just before, right? Let me use that. Okay. SQL plus, what is the username? Demo. Here I should have, let me show you. Okay, I have created the rack demo 02 user. I want to connect now. I haven't given any system privilege. Okay, Oracle underscore 123 at the rate my PDB. I have created at PDB level. It is also shown the same thing, right? Lack of create privileges. Let me grant it. Grant create session to rack demo user. Grant succeeded. Then let me try one more time. SQL plus username and password, then PDB, right? It allowed me. If I want to create or if I want to read something, select star from v dollar database. Do I have this access? Let me check. Any table space I have database. Let me check my DBA underscore. These are all the base one. Select star from DBA underscore users. It is saying some mean object does not exist, but the thing is that privilege is not there. Object privilege we haven't given. We have given only one system privilege to this user, and also we haven't granted anything. So in this way we can able to create a local user with the system privileges. Whatever the activities which I performed here, right, I can do from SQL developer. Initially, I told I will do those activities from here, but I suddenly changed my decision. See, the same thing I'm going to do it. Now I have connected to my PDB database. Okay, if you want to check whether I connected PDB or PDB, select the row which you want to execute, which you want to read it. And here we have a run option, run statement, enter. This is CDB only. I haven't connected to the PDB. Let me connect the, okay, and where it is, no issues. Let me connect to PDB. How should I connect? Alter session set container equal to PDB1. The same statement which I executed in the putty also, here also I can execute, but the difference is we have to select it and then execute it. Session altered. Now you can check this. See, earlier I can able to see PDB. It means I have connected to the CDB1. Now I have connected to the PDB1. Here, if I could able to create a users, let me create a demo rack demo 3 user. Create user username identified by the password. If you want to create, as I said, right, if you want to assign a table space to user and temp table space and how much size we need to provide to that user quota. Quota means size, how much size we have to provide. The user can able to write 100 MB only. More than 100 MB, if this user is trying to write it to the database, that will throw an error. He cannot able to. Then we have to extend these tables, reuse, or we resize. We can resize this permission to this user. That is one activity which we need to perform. See, in PDB level, I'm trying to create a user from SQL developer. What is that? Rack demo 3 is created. What I need to give? I need to give the rack demo 3 connect resource and create section privileges. Let me give connect comma resource. The same thing. Create session privilege also will do that. And also if you want to grant uh, extra, like as I said, object privileges, select. Okay, let me take those. Create session is there. Let me take those. Grant, select comma, insert comma, update. Those we are having the commands. We can grant that. Rack demo 3 is completed. No issues. Where I have user management, create session, control F, grant, select. Yeah, these are the privileges. Any table to this one. Grant create session is done, right? Object level privilege, insert option, grant, select any table. Let me give rack demo 3 where I have created this user, right? Let me create and grant select any table to rack demo 3. Before giving to this, I'll show you whether this user before also I shown right in the rack 1. Okay, no problem. Grant select any table to rack demo 3. Grant succeeded. And I need to, if I want to commit, let me commit. We have a commit option here. See, commit 0 seconds. Okay, let me connect to this rack demo 3. What is the password? Oracle underscore 123. That's it. And I try to access something. Connect rack demo 3 Oracle underscore 123. That's it. I need to mention the PDB. SQL plus PDB1. I have connected, right? Select start from data is DBA underscore user. Select start from. I think these are all the base tables. It should have what privilege we need to provide. Owner role, table privilege. That's okay. Let me give. I'll give you one thing. Then it will allow. Select any table, right? Leave it. Let me give this admin role, and we'll see what it's saying. Select star from. What happened? DB underscore users. Okay. Now we can able to access, right? We can able to read it. Why? Because no, I have given admin privileges. Okay, here we should have to grant according to that table space. Any tables means I think it is not assigned properly to the table space. Now what I did is I have given an admin privilege. Okay, DBA privilege to this user. Okay, show user. What happened? Show user is I have connected to the rack demo 3. Parallelly, we have created another one user, right? Show user connect rack demo 3 1 2 also we have created, and trying to access at the rate PDB1. Show user. See, I haven't granted any kind of privileges. If I want to create one user from this session, okay, from this user, till now, whatever I have created as an admin user, as a sys user, okay, under CDB, under PDB, I have connected as a sys user. Sys is an admin privilege. Okay, as part of user management in a database, we are having couple of administration or admin users. First one is sys. It is a super user. We can perform anything, any activity on this database. Another one is system user. It is having certain limitations, like we cannot perform backup and recovery once you connected to the system user. We cannot do any upgradation activities. We cannot perform extra tables which are holding the sys user. So we have certain kind of limits for system user. But if you connected as a sys user means you have complete rights. You can perform anything. If you want drop it, you can drop the database. If you want to create a database, you can create it. If you want to do backup and recovery, you can do it. If you want to create or grant privileges to other users, you can privilege. Okay, CCS is a super user, super admin user. System also admin user, but it is having bit less privileges than compared to the sys user. Okay, till now whatever I did under sys user, but now I'm trying to connect to this rack demo user. I'm trying to create a user rack d ident. This user doesn't have any privileges. We can straight away say it will not work, but I'll try. Identified spelling. Even see in your in the database, right? If any mistakes happen, the cursor points almost it will show you the correct way where it went wrong. Identified by invalid option. Even that we concluded as different identified password. That is, I mean, spelling mistake. But here you can see insufficient privilege. This will not perform. The same under which user I tried? Rack demo 2. Let me try the same thing under rack demo 3. Show user means under which user I have connected. Create user rack D identified by the rack. See, user is created. Why? Because this user is having privileges. This user doesn't have a privileges. Okay, that is one thing. That concludes how we are going to access the local users, remote users, how we are going to connect from the putty session, how we are going to connect to the database from the SQL developer, how we are going to perform user level things, and how we are going to create roles. I will show you, and also we can see by default if you are when you are creating a user, default table spaces will assign, right? If you want to change the table space, you can see it. No, I'll show you rack demo, right? Rack demo 2. Let me check. This is not there in demo 3, should be there. And what is this? Let me check my users and then I'll check the default table spaces from DBA underscore users. See, the same query, if I could execute it, no, from putty, this kind of information, like in this way, we should not get it. That is okay. See here, output, how we are going to see it. Different, right? Number of lines and all in the putty session. In the same thing, if you want to access a big queries, big output, if you want to see it, that SQL developer can able to, we can able to easily get it. That if you want to save this output, no, see how many rows it is having, count rows, 44 rows. So total completely 44 rows. If you want to save this output locally in your machine, you can save it in this way. Export option. If you want to store in which format, HTML format, JSON format, text format, XML format, XML format, that's it. Click on next. This will store under DBA training software SQL developer bin location. If you want to change the path where this file want to store, I'll store in a home location at desktop. In my desktop, name it any one of them. Somebody will ask you, can you provide the output for so and so query? That is one kind of activity we have to provide. I mean, we have to do as a DBA. Save it. So output. So in my desktop, it will store. Click next. Finish it. That's it. The output will store in your local. That is leave it. That is one thing. See, these are all my data files. Data files means first I queried all the data files in your database. In my database, I have PDB database. I have 4 table spaces: system, sysocs, undo, and user table spaces. Each table space is having only one data file. Each table space is having one data file. But in our real time, no, we have hundreds of data files. Like this is 617, right? In this way, if we have 100 data files, 617, 618, 619, 717. So 717 data files will be there under one table space. Users is my table space name. I'll tell you clearly what is table space, what type the data file, how those will store and all. Now what I'm trying to show is how many users we are having. Whatever the users we created, the users are storing under default table space. I told, right, this is my default table space users. Okay, if you want to see the another table space will be there, temp, that will not comes under DB underscore data files view. If you want to see that, so by default you will get 5 table spaces when you create your database. DB underscore temp files. See, this is the another table space. We have one temp file. So by default, 5 table spaces will come, and as and when you create your database. I'll tell you those as part of table space lesson, but it's okay. Temp is there, that is fine, leave it. I want to show you default table spaces which are having in my database users. DB user, it should show, right? Yep. See here, I have these many users. Count rows, 44 users. Sys is a super user, and system is another user, but it is an admin user. Like sys is a super admin user, system is an admin user. Remaining, these are all the admin users only: DB, SNMP, Outline, LBSS. But this will help us in OEM, Oracle Enterprise Manager monitoring purpose. This user is required. DBS and as of now it is locked. User status is locked. Sys system table spaces. If these users are locked, no, we could not able to access our databases. That also we need to check. This is one activity. As and when you have created that user, that user is not able to access, we need to check whether the account status is open or locked. Open means it is they can able to connect it. Lock means they cannot. Expired or locked means it is expired completely, the user is not there. If you want to, you have to recreate that user, or you have to unlock it proper way. Locked means just locked it, like after 90 days grace period is completed, that will lock it. Or else if you entered mentioned three times password wrongly or five times password wrongly, you mentioned, right? After five attempts account will be locked temporarily. Expired means it's completely account itself, it is not there. This is temporary purpose. Temporarily it will happen on the locked. So if you want to unlock, we can do it also. I'll show you that as well. Let me show you the default users which we created. Track demo, right? I have created this user. I haven't mentioned the table spaces. Default table space it took. Default table space is a permanent one where the original data will store. And temporary table space, what are all the temporary, whatever the user is doing, original data will store on the user tables, and temporary information will store in temp table space. What is meant by the temp means, I have given an example like your mobile. When you are using your mobile phone, you have doing some chats, you have opened multiple applications and all. The multiple applications opens logins, you have connected the Facebook, you have opened the WhatsApp, you did number of chats and all, you received some videos, you received some text, those will store your storage, right? 64 GB, 128 GB, where that information stored in your mobile, that is your hard disk. In database, that kind of information will stored here, user table space. Where this temp table space means, what I mean, if I want to connect SQL prompt, I'm doing some certain kind, if doing some creation operations, select operations, right? To open itself, the SQL prompt to open, see here, let me show you. SQL plus as is DBA, I entered, right? If this want, after you enter this prompt, to connect this SQL prompt itself, you require a temp table space. It requires some, it will do some validation, right? User ID, password validation, where that validation related information are temporarily stored. And also you are doing some performance like show user, I said. So whatever we are doing here, this task, this action is required a temporary table space, a temporary storage for everything, not only database, in your mobile also it is required. Without temp we cannot perform any activities. Suppose if this temp table space is filled up, your database will be hanged, it will not open. If user table space is full, your database will not work. So you have to monitor in this way also. That is different scenario. We will cover in the table space lesson. You understand, I think. Default table space for this user, whatever the user is performing, and that information should store in the user's table. It is a permanent one. We should not delete this table space. If the temporary table space is deleted, that's okay, but we can recreate it. At that time, when you delete the temporary table space, you have an interruption, the database will not work, but immediately you can recreate it, it will work it. You will not lose any data. But you have a downtime, right? If it is a production, somebody has been deleted the time, your production downtime will be there. If business, how much time it is down, that much business you will lose, but data you will not lose, right? If it is lost means, whatever the user data, the permanent information will be lost, complete business will lose. So temporary table space also important, but it is a temporary only, it is not that much of priority we have to give. This is the priority. Okay, these are all the default table spaces. If you want to maintain like if our database is huge, this single user data, mean single default table spaces will not enough, single temp table space is not enough. You have to create custom temporary table spaces, you have to create custom default table spaces. Okay, if you have a number of pluggable databases in your site, you have multiple applications has been installed, each application or each department required separate table spaces. So we require different table spaces, that's okay. But this is the important one, you should not delete. This is original data files will store here, your original data files. It's a temporary files, leave it. So I have created demo to user. By default, if you not mention the table spaces, it will take users as a default and temp will default. If you want to mention specific table space which your user should store that information there, we can mention that also. For that we have to create a table space, and also you can mention, see here I mentioned here rack demo, Racks demo 2. Let me edit. Let's try to me write racks demo 2. See, my racks demo 2 is default table space is users. If you want to change, I can change it. As of now, I don't have multiple table spaces in my database now. So as part of our database, table spaces session, we can discuss that how we can change it. Okay, and roles I told you, right? Roles and profiles also. Simply profile is nothing but the resource limitation, as I mentioned. See here, if you by default, if you are not mentioning any profile to that user, I'll show you that as well. Let me check this. It will take default profile. Here you can read it, everything. See, profile is default. What is this default profile? The default profile, if you want to read, you can read that as well. That is having the same thing as I shown here. This one, how much limit is having, those one. Let me read that. Okay, let me read that. I want to read what all the information is having. See, this is my default profile. If you have created a user account, you haven't assigned any profile, any table space, those will assigned automatically. Database will assign automatically all the default values, all the default profiles, all the default table spaces. What this default profile is having, see here, password lifetime 180 days. After 180 days, this whatever the users you are creating, those will expire or locked. Failed login attempts 10 attempts. After 10 attempts completed, still you have entered wrong password, your account will be locked according to this profile. If you want to modify it unlimited, if you attempt n number of times wrong password to your user account, your account will not locked. Okay, that we can keep for some of the users, those should not lock uh, accounts, so we have to mention that as well. And password lifetime, we some of the accounts we used to mention unlimited. That account should not end, the account should not lock. After 100 or 1000 times you enter wrong password also, it should not lock. Reuse max unlimited. Reuse time, how much time like you can use. Verify the function, password lock time 1 minute. After 1 minute, again your account will become normal. Grace time, after your password expired, if the 7 days is completed, right? Whatever I mentioned here, it will go to expire and locked. Till that 7 days, only lock only will be there. That is where the grace time. Inactive account name, that is okay. Ideal time, how much time it will be ideal. If you mention 20 minutes, after 20 seconds or something, we can mention here. After ideal time, whatever you mention, your account will be locked or it will be edit from that session. It should not be. We have to mention ideal time is unlimited. CPU, how much CPU it should read. As I said, resource, right? This is the CPU, how much we need to assign to that. So if you are giving in a real time, right, the default profile will not work in your real time organization. For practice purpose, that's okay, but real time, right, each and every departments or users, user level privileges we have to define. For that only, in real time, we need to create roles, profiles. These two are important. And then we have to create a user. We will create a user and then we will assign this role. Depends upon the user roles. User DBA user, development user, application user, and also we need to assign the profiles. If that user is required, that department is required, unlimited password reuses, unlimited failed attempts. According to that, if it is a DBA user, critical user, we have to follow our custom profile. We will make failed attempts only 3. Okay, and production, if you are using your ATM, in your ATM you may get 3 times only. After 3 times, one day you should not access your ATM. That is one thing. That is why, because it's a financial, it's a very very critical account. Same way we have to mention, we have to create our profiles according to our environment requirements. So you are, I think now you got clear understanding of what is profile. See here, if you want to update specific value, fail login attempts, how many it is showing? 10, right? If I could make unlimited, alter profile, My profile name is default. It is not new. DFAULT limit default. Let me execute. I don't have a privilege. Okay, I need to log into admin user and then I need to do it. Let me do this from this part. Okay, random user as DBA unlimited. I think it is not. It is not this one. It's a wrong statement also, I think. So in this, I mean, alter by using the alter command, we can change alter profile name, limit password, time unlimited. So whatever that's showing 10 times, right, that will show unlimited. Okay. Object privilege, as I mentioned, right, grants, insert, update, delete on specific owner and table space to that user. In this way, we have to provide object level privileges. Okay. These are the object level. Connect, resource, create, view, unlimited table space. These are the system resource, I mean system privileges. Okay. Yep, that's it for our today's session. If you want to create a profile, you can create it also. Login attempts 2, you can mention password log time 1. After second attempt, I mean first attempt fails, second attempt it will be automatically logged. Ideal time 5 minutes. This way you can mention. You can create it. Create profile. Demo profile has been created. That's it. If I could add that this demo profile to specific user, no, if I how you can grant it, grant, or we have one option, alter system set resource limit. That's okay. Alter user username profile to this one. See user, what is my username? Rack space, right? Racks demo, Racks demo 2. I'm going to use this demo profile. See, rack demo is having demo profile. Let me check. In this way, profile, I think it is not reading from this one. Admin level it will read. That's okay, no problem. So I have changed the profile. Earlier it is having default profile. Now I have created a demo profile and I have assigned to this user. Racks demo. RACS demo 2. See, demo profile. Earlier it is default. If I want to mention again default, okay, let me check. Demo profile DFAULT. Whatever the information I have mentioned over there, that values will applicable. Now it is a default profile. So in this way we can able to assign a profile. If you want to revoke it, you can revoke it. If you want to drop it, you can drop it. So very important, and also mostly L1, like if you learn architecture part and this user management, you can able to handle. Even we have covered the shutdown on startup, right? Like 1 year guy, how the real time 1 year guy can perform as a DBA, you can perform that. Any questions?